Hello, folks. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. My name is Dan the Mexican. Right there. And this is the rundown for MMA latest news. You can find MMA latest news on all the socials: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, MMA latest news. That's what you got to go to. You got to go to MMAlatestnews.com for all our articles. We got some wicked writers up there doing some really good work. One of the things that I'm proud about being a part of MMA Latest News is we don't just cover UFC. A lot of the MMA sites cover UFC or, is Floyd gonna fight and all that stuff. You'll get stuff about Cage Warriors. You'll get stuff about Bama. You'll get stuff about Risen. You'll get stuff about LFA. Like, you'll get Bellator. You'll get everything from the lowest levels, which is really cool because you get to see fighters from their very, very, very growth all the way up. And if they manage to make it and break it and break it and break it, you get to see it in the UFC and you get to see their rise there. I personally have a much greater attachment and appreciation for their game and who they are as people when I've seen a fighter come from a lower organization. And in the earlier stages, when I wasn't paying attention as much, at least the ones that I saw in The Ultimate Fighter worked their whole way up, like Brendan Schaub, for example. Even to the extent of like, well, no, I can't say Bisping and Nathan stuff. I was a bit late in The Ultimate Fighter. Got on, I think it was season 10 or something like that. I think, was it 9? The season before Schaub was actually the one I started, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, MMA latest news. That's what you got to do. Got to go to thatplace.com. It's right there. It's right there. All right. Now, let's get into some MMA stuff. In particular, I'm not going to go through a whole plethora of stuff. I'm just going to cover one kind of general topic that I think we've been seeing recently, and it's good. And we saw it again last Saturday where this dude, Volkov, beat this dude, Werdum. And that is out with the old, in with the new. We saw a great amount of good fights and prospects come through on UFC 222, Cyborg versus Kunitskaya. And once again, this was actually a really great card. A lot of fighters I didn't know. A lot of like lower level fighters, I kind of seen their faces once or twice. Really good performances. The ones who won emphatically. And the losses weren't kind of bad losses. They were like fights at the end where it's like, these guys are getting sharp. And it was good. It wasn't sloppy. Sometimes you see fighters and you see them coming up and you're like, this is actually quite a sloppy fight, if I'm honest. But it was really good. But that's not my point. The overall point is why it's extremely good for the heavyweight division over anybody. I did a few little metrics and stuff like that to try and explain and to show you folks. So let's get into it, shall we? Right. Here we have the heavyweight division, okay? Now, what I did was I got the top 15 ranked fighters, including the champion. I thought the top 15 was number 1, the champion, down to 15. But it's the champion, then number 1 contender, down to 15. What I did from that was I noticed that in this 15, or 16, if you will, not if you will, it is, in this 16, 5 of them are 40 plus, or 39 to 40 plus. That's right. I added one in because it was Overeem, who, although isn't 40, he's like 38 or 39, but he's been fighting as long as all the other lads who are 40. He just has been fighting since he was 16 as opposed to 18, or 18 as opposed to 20. But the point is, he's an old salty dog as well. So I separated those 5, and then there was the rest. And there's a very strange pattern, not a pattern, but a strange thing that I noticed that is like not good. And this is why it's good for people like Volkov to win. Okay, so in total, you have an age of 532. That's 532 years of all the combined fighters, 1 to 16, including the champ. All right, the oldest fighter is 43 years of age. That is Mark Hunt. The average age is 33. That's a bit old for an average age. And I know heavyweights are older and they mature later, but even still, that's quite old for the average age of the whole top 15. Um, Total pro fights, 443 pro fights, with a total time of 6,642 minutes in the octagon, 110.7 hours, right? Now, if we separate that and go, okay, the vets. So the 5 vets have 222 fights between them. They have 55.5 hours and they've 3,330 minutes. Or equates to that many minutes, okay? Now, the next piece, the numbers and the picture isn't going to change much, and that's the problem. All right? We have 221 for the total fights, 55.2 for the total hours, and 3,315. Okay? Now, you might say, well, they're pretty similar. What's the problem? The problem is the first section of numbers is only 5 fighters. The second section of numbers is 10 fighters. It's representative of 10. So you need half the amount of fighters that equate to the same amount of average fight time as the rest of the 10. That's literally a massive, like, portion of just pure raw experience, just been there and seen everything experience plopped into the top 5. And why is that a thing? I'll tell you why that's a bad thing. Because for the most part, a division, you wanted to have tiers. You wanted, just like anything, you want the very, very, very top, the pretty good, they're top, the decent, the okay, they're all right. They got some work, and then the rest down. You literally have the same gap as you have with, like, the wage gap in third world countries. You have, especially in regards to experience and skill. And I want to say that to a certain point, straight up default skill of ability to do a move and to know different types of move gets massively trumped by somebody who's been doing those same moves for way, 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 way longer. There's experiences in you've been there and you can see and assume, or like at least gather what's going to happen. You can predict these kind of scenarios. But there's also experience that's strictly separated from that. And just in the experience of doing a task over and over and over and over and over again, that you get to the point where there is almost non-diminishing returns in comparison to, every bit of energy, all the angle, everything you need to get that action done, far more than someone who's just used to the action but not used to using it in different situations, or not used to knowing when they're best at throwing that particular strike, what suits for them, what works for them with their height, with their range, with their body type, everything, how they fight. So it's a massive, massive difference of just in those top 5 fighters. And then you have the rest of the 10, where it takes 10 of them to have a similar amount of fight time and fights. The skill gap is so large. And when you have an organization like the UFC that seems to be hell-bent for the most part, hopefully it looks like it's getting a bit better. I hope it keeps getting better, and the look of it getting better is true. But for the most part, have been more focused on, well, this person's known and this person's known, so we'll put them together because that'll be worth more money. And look at the heavyweight division. They're like, okay, you're a casual fan. You don't know 80% of the people in the top 15. So we're just going to pair up a nobody or an average dude for a normal good MMA fan, but nobody basically for a casual fan, against someone that they know, and we'll try and make a name for this guy off the older person. No, you're just going to send that lamb to the slaughter, which you has been doing. And it happened as well in light heavyweight, where someone like Teixeira and stuff, they just keep on knocking these top prospects because the UFC isn't exactly leaning hard recently into, let's get nobodies to fight nobodies and just make a lot of these fights until we start separating the wheat from the chaff, and then we bring other people up a bit further and we have a bit more of an enticing division. The top 16 of any division, for the most part, you should be able to pick anyone from that, match them up with anyone else, and although depending maybe a 1 and a 16, they'll be a bit more favored. But for the most part, you should be able to go, oh, but you never know. That could be a good matchup. And that's definite in a weight class like lightweight, where the top 15, you could add any of them together. Chiesa, Lee, Khabib, Ferguson, Alvarez, Gaethje, well, Dariush just got knocked out, but Barbosa, like all of these people, Iaquinta, you could match any of these people up. James Vick, James Vick. Any of these people together would be a great matchup and could yield anything. Man, I don't even know who the last 2-3 fighters in the heavyweight ranks are. I don't. Junior Albini, I only know because of that ridiculous getup that he wore, where he literally looked like a baby, like a giant infant. An infant who's been giving that, honey, I blew up the kid, like Ray, and went bloop. But yeah, God, everyone was just like that. I think Dana White even said that was disgraceful. I don't want him to ever be able to do that again. Like it was nuts. But this is why it's good because for Volkov to win, because you need these lesser known people to make these names off it. Now, Volkov happens to be one of the younger lads who has quite a long record on him. He's been fighting for a while. Not the same extent as Alistair Overeem, but he's packed in a lot of fights in a shorter amount of time. So that's why what gave him the little bit of extra edge. Also, Verdum is really in the later years. But still, he's dangerous as hell. That's a problem with the heavyweight division as well, as they're always dangerous. But it's really, really good to see these new people pop through. I love Frankie Edgar, but it was really good to see Brian Ortega pop through. When these fighters break through, they cause more possibilities for matchups in the division. More possibilities means more excitement. It also means that you're not stuck with a card that for the most part has duds. You can almost guarantee yourself that you match up any few people who are free, not injured, from these top 16, 15, and you're going to get a good fight for the most part. That's kind of the way the sport's meant to be done and kind of has been done for a while. But we've got too much into this, let's just make sure they're definitely well known and let's push these fighters like a Page or a Northcutt. And the competition is just that bit too much for them because they haven't got that amount of time. They haven't had that amount of tenure. It takes time, folks. How long do you have to play a computer game or play any activity and lose a lot before you get like, oh, I think I can take on pretty much anyone level of good at it, and where it's not just delusion. This is fighting. And you can train all you want, you can spar all you want, but the real experience time is in that cage. When the cage door closes, that's it. So it's hard to accumulate that, and you really got to do it carefully, and you got to pay respect to the people who just haven't had that amount of time in the cage, that it's not necessarily a consistent or fair thing to expect them to take out these top 5, top 3, 40-year-old vets who they still have the power because it's heavyweight. They're still super dangerous. So you can't try crazy stuff because you're younger and more athletic and more quick. It's a very precarious scenario. So when you see someone like that, it makes it a huge difference. And just a quick comparison before we go. Oh, I'll move this up a bit. If you can see in the lightweight division, right? There's not much of a discrepancy between the vets and between the rest of them. In fact, the rest of them have more accumulated rounds and fight time than the 5 vets, which is the way it should be because there's twice the amount of them. So it stands to reason the numbers are almost twice the amount too. It was great to see that happen. It was great with Brian Ortega. I hope to see more of them again. I have been Don the Mexican. This has been The Rundown. You can get me at Don the Mexican on Twitter. MMA latest news. Thank you very much for watching. Peace.